As we hit 4 o'clock on this Monday afternoon, we start with the Douglas County Sheriff defending his deputy's decision to chase a car through a residential neighborhood over the weekend.
The car jumped a curve and crashed into a home in Highlands Ranch. 9 News reporter Cole Sullivan spoke with neighbors who saw this happen. Cole.
Kim, the sheriff's office says deputies clocked the car driving double the speed limit through winding streets lined with single-family homes. A spokesperson says no one was seriously hurt inside the house the car hit or in the car itself. She says 3 teenage girls inside the white Mercedes fled a house party Friday night. Deputies had just pulled up at the party when someone fired a gun and the car sped off. Deputies followed. The sheriff says they thought the driver might have something to do with the shots fired. A nearby Nest camera captured the chase seconds before the crash. You can see the Mercedes drive by there, followed a few moments later by a police car with its sirens on. This is the aftermath of the crash here. The car went into the office of an older couple's home. A neighbor across the street says he was watching a movie with his wife when he heard first the speeding car and then the crash. He says police arrived seconds later.
You know, they had guns drawn and they were surrounding the area, surrounding the house, and, you know, just basically were telling the occupants in the car to, you know, stand down and come out with their hands up and sit.
A spokesperson says one of the girls was 15 years old, 2, including the driver, are 16. The sheriff says the driver is likely to face charges for not pulling over and for DUI. The investigation into the shots fired at the house party continues as well. No one was hurt there either. Some neighbors I spoke with today say they're concerned about the police decision to chase that car. The sheriff says he thinks officers followed policy. He says the car was a, quote, clue in the shots fired investigation, and deputies are trained to evaluate safety for every chase.
Yeah, chase policy is a big discussion with every police department. That neighborhood doesn't look like it was built for chase.
It absolutely wasn't. No, the sheriff says that it was winding roads and that sometimes the deputy lost the car because it would take a turn as they were trying to give chase. But still, you got to imagine those neighbors thinking about that or hearing that crash and wondering what's going on.
Thank goodness no one was hurt. I mean, that time of night and everything else, thank goodness. All right, thank you, Cole.
There is new information surrounding the killing of Arvada police officer Dylan Vakoff. The arrest affidavit for Sonny Almanza was unsealed this morning. Almanza claims that he was unaware that Arvada police officers were at the scene at the time. He says that then he heard the sound of a gunshot, realized that he'd been struck in his hip. He says that's when he turned around, saw somebody, and shot them. Almanza says that's when he realized the person was a police officer. Court documents say he then threw the rifle away because he didn't want anyone else to get shot. Almanza is facing first-degree murder and attempted murder charges. His next court date now set for October 7th. Russian President Vladimir Putin has granted citizenship to former U.S. security contractor Edward Snowden. That's according to a decree signed by the Russian leader today.
Snowden is one of 75 foreign nationals listed by the decree as being granted Russian citizenship. The decree was published as an official government website. Snowden, a former contractor with the U.S. National Security Agency, has been living in Russia since 2013 to escape prosecution in the U.S. after leaking classified documents detailing government surveillance programs. He was granted permanent residency in 2020 and said at that time he wanted to apply for Russian citizenship without renouncing his U.S. citizenship.
Turning now to Florida, where there is a state of emergency as Hurricane Ian rapidly intensifies and now forecast to become a major hurricane before it strikes Florida's Gulf Coast with life-threatening force.
Which has national forecasters on high alert and city officials sending out really ominous warnings to anyone in the storm's path.
This could be the storm that we've hoped would never come to our shores.
This is nothing to mess around with. If you can leave, just leave now, and we will take care of your personal property.
We're taking a live look at Florida right now. Really can't tell much from that image. Ian is rapidly intensifying, though, in the Gulf and predicted to become a major hurricane by the time it makes landfall this week. Today, a mandatory evacuation order was issued for parts of Hillsborough County, which also includes the Tampa area. And take a look at this video from the International Space Station of Hurricane Ian. So far, 7,000 National Guard members from Florida and neighboring states have been activated ahead of Ian making landfall. If Ian does hit Tampa directly, it would be the first time it's been a direct hit from a hurricane since 1921.
Speaking of space, NASA not taking any chances as far as Hurricane Ian, and today the agency announced it'll be moving the Artemis 1 rocket back into the garage at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Well, that will also delay the next launch attempt for the mission for at least a few weeks. The Artemis 1 mission is just the start of a program with the aim of returning people to the moon and eventually landing crewed missions on Mars. Many times this time of year when we are talking about hurricanes in and around the Gulf, we're talking about beautiful weather here. There's a live look, of course, at Boulder and beautiful blue skies, warm temperatures. Kathy's with us today and talking about our weather. It always seems there's a contrast between if there's a hurricane going on somewhere else, we tend to be in a nice pocket.
Tom, weather is the great equalizer in the atmosphere. It keeps us from getting too warm and too cold. And when you've had a hurricane season this quiet this year, something was bound to go, you know, and hopefully this won't be the big epic storm that forecasters are afraid it might be. So this is going to be our big weather story this week, is that hurricane in Florida. Well, back here, lucky us, we're enjoying this, a beautiful view of the leaves changing in the Colorado high country, our Sky 9 flying, giving us the bird's eye view of this beautiful state that we are lucky enough to live in. So many of you reaching out, though, you have friends and family in Florida, or maybe you have a home in Florida. So I know a lot of Coloradans are watching that Florida forecast very carefully, and we're going to talk more about that coming up. For now, we'll take in this beautiful Monday, the start of the first full week of fall. Beautiful conditions across the state with seasonal highs in the low 80s for downtown Denver, 70s over the higher terrain, a trend we can expect to continue for the majority of this week. Only showers I'm tracking over Colorado, New Mexico line, the Four Corners area. Little moisture coming in there, moisture in the Midwest and the Northeast, but pretty quiet around this area. These showers coming in, hoping to bring some rain to the San Juan Range. We're not going to see any of that in Colorado, the Front Range foothill areas at least. Most of it will stay over northern New Mexico. So sunshine and low 80s will get you through the dinner hour. After sunset tonight, we drop into the 70s. And in Maine weather, a beautiful mild evening here in Colorado. Sunshine and 80s for the start of fall, but all eyes on Ian. And there's a lot to talk about when it comes to what will be Category 4 Ian before it makes landfall sometime late Wednesday into early Thursday. So Kim and Tom, a lot to talk about in weather coming up, but what a day today outside. Beautiful.
Yeah, it was one for a postcard, as they say. All right, thank you, Kathy.
Was not so good on Wall Street. Another down day. The S&P closing at a new low for 2022. And there you see the Dow dropped more than 300 points going into a bear market for the first time since the pandemic. The Dow now down 20% from its close back on January 4th.